to somebody else. But
Well,
life goes on.
so what you kind of mentioned it when you were talking before. What and where do you get your strength from today?
From the Word.
From the Word.
My spiritual strength comes from the Word, but some of my strength from my thoughts and the way I feel about life come from my raising. We know when we get to the root of it, the Lord the Father is the head. But a lot of the things that we do and the way we act, it come from things that we were taught when we was growing up. Morally. Things are morals. Now we should treat our neighbors. Thou shalt not lie. And a little small thing like that where your parents might pass on to you. You know, and a lot of things we learn is by watching the way that our people's parents act. You can't say one thing and do something else. So we learn by examples.
When you think back to your childhood and I guess up until this point, everyone kind of has, maybe one or two or maybe more memorable experiences that have either changed their life or affected their life. There was an incident or event or something someone said to you. Can you think of growing up, maybe one or two events or people or sayings or something that really gave you thought-provoking or gave you the ability to really think about your life and where you were going and made you a better person today because of it?
Well, I've always had the desire to do something and be something. I didn't know what be something or do something was, but I know I didn't want to live in a stricken life of poverty. So I can't remember any one thing that was said or done when I was growing up. But I do remember something happening to me on the job, which is the most thing out that I can remember. I was in a large compartment cleaning a floor. The room had been painted and little spots of paint were on it. And that was my job, to get those little spots of paint and clean that tile for living. And I was crawling on my knees and this white soup ship inspector was walking through the compartment, and he would occasionally come through and talk to me. He said, every time I come through, you singing. This wasn't the first time he had come through, but he felt comfortable talking to me. Because every time I come through, you're singing. He said, but you know what? Have you ever thought about doing something else? He said, you know this job you're doing here now, if this job run out and you decide to go somewhere, you can't get another job. Have you ever thought about doing something else? They have other jobs right here in this company. Have you ever thought about trying something else? He didn't tell me to do that, but what he told me stuck with me, and I couldn't rest after he told me that. And at that point, I proceeded to the employment office just a few days later, and I asked them about a transfer. At that time, they weren't giving it. There were plenty of jobs available, but they weren't giving it. But it was not very long when an equal right had really started moving. This was about 65 or 66. The equal right bill passed in about 64. So things were getting right around the shipyard. Then one day, my boss came to me and said, pack your stuff up. You getting a transfer. You apply for a transfer? Yes, sir. So the rest of it is kind of history. But this gentleman, when he told me, said, have you ever thought about doing something else? That's one of the most effective things that ever happened to me in my life. He encouraged me, not really encouraged me, but he shocked me. You need to try to do something else. And I did. And I got a transfer and I went in another department, started doing other things, making 3 times the money I was making at first, leaving with a trade. But that was the most effective thing that anybody ever said to me that really changed my life. So after him telling me that, I draw the conclusion that sometimes when we have something to say, if it's effective, if it's constructive, we need to say it because we don't know what kind of ears it's going to fall on. I'm sure he didn't think that he would have that much effect on me. And I'd like to share one more thing with you that happened. This was about 1985, and I was smoking about a pack of cigarettes a day. And it's kind of strange that it was one of my coworkers. We had just given a safety talk about smoking and cancer. And it didn't affect me. I still was lighting my cigarettes. And my friend came into the office and he said, "Green, what are you doing smoking?" Let me have a cigarette, man. I haven't had a cigarette either. Well, he was one of the types that smoked, but he didn't buy. But he was always trying. But he said, "You know what? You just read a safety talk, told you not to smoke. And here you are smoking. Put that cigarette down and threw the paper on my desk." But you know, I haven't smoked a cigarette since. I don't know what happened. Was it by him just saying that I was just right for quitting? But I never smoked another cigarette. So it's kind of strange. These two things happened to me, and it had that kind of effect. So sometimes if we have something constructive to say, we need to say it. Because we don't know what effect they're going to have on somebody else. If we see somebody doing something wrong, and we say, "Hey, you know what? You shouldn't be doing that." Whatever you decide to say to them, you don't know what effect you're going to have on them.
And these weren't guys that you talked to every day. You know, they weren't like your family or
No.
people you socialize with after work.
Right. None of these.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. How have you managed to stay focused these many years? And, you know, what are some of the things that you do even now that keep you focused and always looking forward to the next day?
Well, one of the things that keep me focused is I try to stay away from bad negative people. Not saying that I don't affiliate myself with negative people, but negative people is not one of my daily activities. And far as staying positive, if you have Christ in your life and you're trying to do what's right, you might not cross every T and dot every I, but you sure to know all the alphabets. You know, so it's not really hard for me to stay focused. It's not really hard, because it's something I've been doing almost all my life, trying to stay focused. So it's not like I've been out using drugs and smoking marijuana and stuff like that, you know, where I can't focus. That's something I never used. I've never been a drug addict, and I've never been a coke user or marijuana smoker. So focusing is not something I always had a problem with.
And what do you think when thinking about some of the, you know, future generations and ultimately the people who are going to see this, you know, this product or production that we're putting together? What's something, and this is kind of a deeper thought-provoking question, what's something that you hope for them or that you wish for them for the years to come? Like, you know, lay it out, with, you know, financially, you know, being together, anything that you want for the future generations to come. This is your message to them and what you hope their life will become.
Well, one of the things is try to stay close to the church. That's the first thing I would say. And realizing that nothing in life comes free. And I would love to see our family continue to communicate and get together, and I would surely like for the members of our family who know most of them, bring these people together, keep them in, you can't keep them in contact, but you can get them to know each other. So many of your family members don't know each other. There might be quite a few that known by some, but I would hope for the future generation that they keep in contact or get to know their family. Each generation should prosper better than the generation before them. If that don't happen, then you have lost a generation. So one of the ways to do that is by keeping Christ first, knowing that you got to work, nothing in life comes free. And the only other thing I can tell them, if you're married and with a family, you have to do what the head of the house is supposed to do. That means provide for his family, be a good role model, and be the head. When I say head, I don't mean when to go around and trap everybody. I mean, you got to set some example. When they look for you, they got to look up for you, not down.
What you want to say?
Out of my ears, man. I'm full of little cheese.
It's on now, Anthony. It's your chance to say anything.
You get your
Anything.
chewing on?
One thing that some of your
You get
brothers
your
and sisters
chewing
have
gum
been
yet?
doing, just saying things to, you know, you don't see Aunt Lois and everyone all the time. So anything that you might want to say to them, you can say it on the videotape. You can say it now.
God bless everybody.
Okay. You can say something to Uncle Matthew or specifically to each one of them if you want.
God bless everybody.
Okay.
That's what I'm gonna say.
Okay. Who's the head of your life?
Christ is.
Christ is the head of your life? What are some of the things you look forward to for your nieces and nephews? Your great nieces and nephews and your nieces and...
Well, I look forward to people,
Okay.
not just my niece and nephew.
But what do you hope for them? Do
I hope they do good in life.
they do good in life? That's good. You have anything you want to say to Aunt Lois?
I love her.
Or how about Uncle Robert Lee, Uncle Matthew?
I love all of them.
All of them?
I love all my sisters and brothers.
Okay. All right. I'll go ahead and part when we cut it off now. Or you want to say?
If you want to.
If you want to say something else, go ahead and you can feel free.
God bless everybody.
Okay.
Tell us something about your dad.
You know, can you remember anything about your dad that you might want to share? Or anything about growing up that you might want to share that might help another person?
Growing up.
Yeah, anything you can think of that might help someone else get through life.
I can't think of one. You got to have the music. You need the music on paper so you can see what it is. You need to read the music.
In concluding, the video that Dominic has set up, I would like for all of our nieces and nephews and uncles and cousins to remember our aunts, great aunts, Aunt Sarah, Uncle Channing, because they were truly an inspiration to us. You know, we were some of the unfortunate ones, which grandparents and mothers died early. But I would like to see all of our cousins and nieces and nephews come close, and especially the brothers and the sisters of my mother, Matthew, Robert, Roy, and Glenn. I would like to see those four, along with the sisters, become a little closer, in which their kids will be a lot closer. Some of my cousins, like the ones that Robert Lee are, I wouldn't know if I was passed on the street. So we never really got together really as a unit. However, I know why. because we lost our base at an early age, but that's no reason we shouldn't mend things and try to fix it for the younger generation. We have to be a inspiration to them. We have to be the leaders. Being that our leaders are going like our great uncles and aunts. Uncle Channing, which was inspiration, is going on now almost a year. So somebody has to step up to the plate. So my word to all my nieces and nephews and cousins and to my children is that they would stay close to one another. Communicate. When I say communicate, that don't mean they have to talk frequently, but have that line of communication open. Each generation ought to be stronger and stronger, more financially prosperous. If you don't, we'll lose a generation. I've always had that great desire for family. So in concluding, let's love and cherish and communicate to one another, and by no means let's not forget the ones who've gone on. Have a good day. May the Lord bless all of you.